Okay, thank you. Good evening, everyone. Thank you for joining our Chan instructional talks tonight. Let's continue with Master YongHua's instructions. Please feel free to ask questions about anything, anytime.
So we start on slide 324. Yeah, let's go back one slide.所以你都不要后悔皈依这个师父，不但不要后悔，你更应该生大欢喜。Can you read again, DTT?
So you all should not regret taking refuge with this master. Not only should you not regret it, but it should also give rise to great joy in you and say,
我也不会立功，也不会立德，也不会立言，现在都有机会可以成就。
I don't know how to create merit. I also don't know how to create virtue. I also don't know how to create sagely words. Now I have the opportunity to accomplish all of them.
所以你应该欢喜，你打这个妄想，后悔就是错误的。
Therefore, you should be joyful. However, you have this false thought of regret. Just having this thought is wrong.
就是不旅行，不吃好东西，也少去用车，有 automobile， 少去 drive 10 miles， 也省了不少钱。
Just by not traveling, not eating good food, and using the car less, if you have an automobile, driving 10 miles less also saves quite a bit of money.
你应该穿衣服的，我这个衣服旧了，想要买一个新衣服，要是还可以穿1年。
You might say, my clothes are old and I want to buy a new set, but the old ones can still be worn for another year.
我买新衣服这个钱不买了，今年我拿出来供养三宝，来造这个道场，就成就了嘛。
Instead of spending money on new clothes, I will use it this year to make offerings to the Triple Jewel and build this way place. Then it is accomplished.
就这么一点小问题，你要是能够把它变一变，道场就成就了。
Just by changing this small issue, if you can modify it a bit, the way place can be successfully established.
你要是不变，我穿这件衣服旧了，想买件新的，买件新的又不好看，再买一件新的。
If you don't change and keep thinking, this piece of clothing I am wearing is old. I want to buy a new one. The newly bought one doesn't look good either, so I buy another new one.
买来买去，买的很多，很多穿也穿不了，那也没什么用处。
You keep buying and buying, and end up buying a lot, so much that you cannot even wear them all. They are not of much use.
我告诉你们，我自己从来没有做过一件新的衣服。
Let me tell you, I have never made a new piece of clothing for myself.
我出家这么多年，没有用道场的钱给我自己做什么。
In all the years that I have been a left-home person, I have never used temple money to do anything for myself.
你们从台湾回来，给我做了一件棉袄，我也送给国法。
You all made a cotton jacket for me when you returned from Taiwan. I also gave it to Guofa.
我因为自己没有道德，所以不愿意用常住的钱来做。
Because I, myself, am without virtue. Therefore, I am unwilling to use the permanently dwelling's money to make the cotton jacket.
是不是说常住没有钱？我所住的常住钱多得很。
Isn't it said that the permanently dwelling has no money? The permanently dwelling places that I have stayed all have a lot of money.
但是我不用，因为这是公家的，公家的我一定不用。
However, I don't use the money because it's public funds. As for public funds, I absolutely will not use.
告诉你们一个老实话，有的人供养师父多少钱，你们供养我这个钱，我自己不用。
Let me tell you an honest truth. Some people offer X amount of money to the master. When you offer me this money, I, myself, do not use it.
拿来干什么呢？我都拿来造庙做事情，我自己很惭愧。
So what do I do with it? I use all of it to build temples and carry out projects. I am very ashamed of myself.
觉得不应该浪费施主的金钱，就1块钱我都不是随便用的。
I feel that I should not waste donors' money. I wouldn't use even a single dollar carelessly.
所以我不是叫你们来供养我，但是你们供养我的钱，我一定给你们做一些功德。
So I'm not asking you to make offerings to me. But the money you offer me, I will definitely use it to create some merit and virtue for you.
所以你也不要后悔。还有一个办法，你现在后悔了，可以退转。
Therefore, you also don't need to have regrets. There's another way. Now, if you have regrets, you can retract the money.
你现在说我不皈依了，我已经皈依这么久了，我要退回去，可以的。
Now you say, I don't want to take refuge. I have taken refuge for so long. I want to renege. That is okay.
已经皈依的要退，我也批准；没有皈依的要退回去，也批准。我这个是 everything is okay.
For those who have taken refuge and want to renege, I approve. For those who have not taken refuge and want to renege, I also approve. For me, everything is okay.
That's the end of the slide.
Of this file? Oh, okay. Very good. Let's go over what he communicated to his students. Wow, we went through a lot. Okay.
Starting from 324.
324, not the fox thing. Okay, 324. So he's teaching, he taught his disciples about taking a refuge with the triple jewel. And he's then explained what's the benefit of taking a refuge with the triple jewel. It's funny that they really don't really talk about the meaning of taking refuge, the triple jewel. Okay, this section here is more interested in using taking refuge, the triple jewel, to help build the temple, and why how he handles the money that's given to him. Okay. But since we're here, I'll talk a little bit about taking refuge, triple jewel. The meaning of taking refuge, triple jewel, is that the disciples of the Buddha, they are allowed to teach and accept disciples and train their disciples, and therefore this taking refuge, or triple jewel, is a Dharma that's transmitted to all of their monks and nuns. They are allowed to take disciples. So take refuge, or triple jewel, you are taking refuge with the triple jewel of the 10 directions. And that process also means that you receive certification from the Sangha that administers the refuge. And so therefore, a meaning of it is that you really don't need to keep on taking refuges at all. Because if you keep on taking refuges, you basically are taking refuge with the same triple jewel, the 10 directions, and receiving different certifications. That's all. All right? So once you're a Buddhist disciple, you really don't need to take a refuge just repeatedly, which a lot of Buddhist disciples do. They go from one temple to the next and take refuge when there's a ceremony. However, there's also another side to the taking refuge. Meaning of taking refuge is that you are basically choosing to depend on the triple jewel for guidance and protection. Okay, because in your path towards the light, towards goodness, towards opening your wisdom, it's fraught with a lot of dangers, with a lot of challenges, with a lot of difficulties. That and the Buddhas know that. The triple jewels of the 10 directions know that. That's why they said, if you're serious about this, you're interested in doing this, then you can take advantage of this taking refuge thing, okay, through the Sangha. All right, since I noticed something, allow me to speak about it before I forget publicly, okay. One textunim, don't get too close to people, especially women. In America, there is personal space where we observe. We don't get close to people. Because getting close to people is an intimate act. You get close and you only need to whisper. Okay? And to be too close to people infringes upon personal space. And that's not healthy for you and for people. Pay attention, please, to all of you. There's personal space. This is why the Hinayana people, they don't talk to the opposite sex, and they keep a distance between them and the opposite sex via this piece of cloth. Okay? It looks ridiculous. It looks fearful, like they have fear. Okay? But there's a reason for them to do it that way, because there's personal space. Okay, if you get too close, you infringe upon each person's personal space. Trouble begins inside of you. You pay attention when you don't approach people, invade the private space, and others didn't know better, invade yours. You should feel a difference in yourself. All right? So all of you, Sanghas, pay attention. Okay, especially in the US, you don't violate people's personal space. You keep the distance, okay? Preferably arm's length. All right? Okay, very good. So that's what I'm talking about, guidance. Guidance means that you're doing things that cause problems for you, but you're not sensitive enough to realize that it has adverse effects on you. So that's why, even though I've been very loose with my sanghas and the training is very lax, because here in America, people are weak and they're not used to taking orders and they're very individualistic. So we adapted, okay? But what I've been doing is catch you from these little moments and help you, prevent you from sinking. Because you're not, at certain levels, certain things you don't want to do. You have to be careful. Okay? And that's the nature of the path towards light, towards enlightenment, is, what is it? It requires increased sensitivity to what happens to your heart, to your head. Boys and girls, if you talk to people and they're not interested in looking at themselves, there's no sense in going any deeper. Because that's what cultivation requires. You need to look at yourself. When you look at yourself, great thing happens to you. You refuse to look at yourself, it's hopeless for you. So much hope. So that's why, in general, if you meet with people and they're always critical and always looking at others instead of looking at themselves, they are the poorest Buddhist disciples you can find. There's not much hope for them. Okay? Let them be. Don't touch them. Don't go close to them. Accept them. Embrace them. But there's not much hope. Until naturally, each one of you will realize that you are better off learning to look at yourself. And this is what we do. We guide you to look at yourself. Because you can't run away from yourself. This is fundamental. Worldly people are not trained, are not taught to look at themselves. That's what makes you different, is that you are willing to look at yourselves. If you're willing to look at yourself, there's hope for you. If you're not willing to look at yourself, it's okay. We accept you. Don't force it upon them. Do not raise your hopes too high. That's the bottom line. They need more time, because those people who are willing to look at themselves, you know how is it possible? How is it some people are willing to look at themselves, whereas others are not. What's the difference? They don't have enough blessings to realize the importance of looking at themselves instead of looking at others. If you want to understand others, you're better off looking at yourselves. Oops, that's another line. Okay? So these are little tips for you to see where people are. Don't force it upon them. Maybe you're married to them and you're committed to them. Don't go there, okay? Don't push the issue. If they don't have enough blessings, you only end up having a fight and having arguments. That's it, okay? But if they have real Mahayana blessings, like Master YongHua is about to teach them here, they will naturally like to look at themselves. And something clicks inside of them. And they say, yeah. Because I'll give you an analogy, okay? Looking at yourself is like what ordinary people liken to getting rich. Anyone likes to get rich? I do. Okay? And what's the rule for getting rich? Number one, that's the first rule for getting rich. You save. You cannot save, you can't get rich. Doesn't matter how much money you make, you cannot save money, you cannot get rich. And saving money is looking at your mistakes, where you're wasting your resources, where you're wasting your strength, where you're wasting your wisdom on. Does it make sense to you? Your professors, your rabbis, your fathers, your priests do not teach this because they don't know how to look at themselves. What is Chan? Chan is look at yourself. What is reciting the Buddha's name? It's looking at yourself. What is mantras? Is look at yourself. Okay? So that's why we know the Buddha understands it. He says, for you to continue to make progress, we have to first of all provide you with protection, and then guidance, so that you can continue on your journey. Okay, and that's the meaning of taking refuge. And taking refuge is that the commitment that the Triple Jewel makes to all of us in providing protection and guidance. And therefore, he says here, you should not regret it. Actually, you should give rise to great joy, because you are fortunate enough to be able to join this group of people who are disciples of the Buddha. Those are privileged groups. Even those disciples of the Buddha who's like kindergarten level, therefore they don't understand the importance of looking at themselves. Okay, and teaching them that is a waste of time. Eventually, they will naturally learn and appreciate looking at themselves because they find it's more beneficial for them. It helps them get what they want. People don't look at themselves only because they don't see the benefits of looking at themselves yet. Okay? And so he says, you took refuge with me, therefore it should give rise to great joy. And he'll continue. Yes, 5.
We have a YouTube question from Sophia Gu. Emitofuo, hello, Master. Recently, I realized that the reason I would rather blame others and try to distract myself with other pleasures instead of meditating is because I'm too afraid to look at myself. For example, I blame my parents for my depression, but I'm beginning to realize that it's just who they are and I'm too attached to wanting their approval. However, when I meditate and look at my own faults, there is so much that I'm unsatisfied with, I become overwhelmed. I start hating myself and wanting to run away. I want to keep looking and address my attachments, but the self-hatred and self-blaming becomes too strong to concentrate. How can I stop this self-hatred? Thank you.
It takes time. It takes time before you can do it well. It takes quite a long time, actually. Why is that? Because when you have blessings, the instructions will make sense to you. When you don't have enough blessings, the instructions are too confusing. I give you an example, my personal example. When I wanted to learn Chan, okay, it's not because I wanted to deal with my depression. I didn't even know I was depressed. I was depressed my entire life. So it's a way of life. You don't question it anymore. And you feel bad. And that you're morose and you hate people. You hate children. You hate women. Oh, no, I hate men. You hate and hate and hate and hate. And it's perfectly well justified. And you're used to it. Okay? And so, but somehow I have enough blessings to encounter Master YongHua's Chan Dharma. And among all the competition from the Vietnamese, some of the Taiwanese, some of the Japanese, and so forth, all the Chinese teachers, somehow I chose him. Actually, it was funnel towards him. Even though I encounter a lot of his disciples who are confused like heck, who have no clues about what Wei Yang Chan is about. Okay. At the time, I couldn't tell the difference anyway. Didn't matter. Somehow I bounced around from one disciple of his to the next, and the next, and the next, and the next, eventually to see that they're all confused like heck. And eventually to see that the only real understanding is from his Chan. And his Chan instructions are spread out in so many books. At the time, there used to be like 200 different books in English, translations of his Dharma. I read them all. Couldn't understand much. Got about 10% maybe, 5%, 10%. But somehow, it's stuck in my mind. I'm trying to make a point to you here. That is, if you cannot force this, if you have the blessings, you naturally will be corralled into the right things. This is so important. way beyond anything we can do for you. There's so much competition in terms of Chinese instructions out there, including his own disciples, who he claimed they will be teaching and training me. And I'm glad that I was not impressed with any of them. Okay? It's the one real protection was my blessings. And that's why what he's about to say next is very important. You take refuge with this particular master, okay, actually is to your advantage. Yes, I just said you don't have to take refuges again, but actually it makes a difference because it's only theoretically you don't have to take refuge again, okay, once you're taking refuge. But the role of our master here actually is pretty important, okay? Because of all the teachers I encountered, I looked after he died, okay? I had to come back, I chose to come back to his instructions. Because somehow it clicked inside, okay? And so I use that as the guidance for my journey. I should not go there. I should not go and steal. I should not go and seek things from people. Okay? I should not take advantage of the fact people like me, have sympathy for me, have pity for me. Those are the guiding principles that somehow clicked. And I'm pretty sure because it's not the first time. I heard of it before and immediately it made sense, right? When you hear anything the first time, you have to think about it, yeah? And then you have to take the time to mull it over and then trial and error, because that's what happens. We need to make mistakes. That's how we learn. At least 50% of the time is we make mistakes. Then we correct ourselves. How do you correct ourselves? The guidelines that this master provides is critical. That's why I stress the word guidance. We don't have enough wisdom. That's why life is overwhelming. The person who asks a question is a proof. Not just her, but that happens to us. We're overwhelmed by data. There's so much information that hits our sixth sense organs. They are overwhelming for everyone. All of us. That's why you need guidance. Yes, I disagree with a lot of other things that he said, Master YongHua taught, but the fundamentals are what all Buddhas teach. The fundamentals of cultivation are the same, from Shakyamuni Buddha, Amitabha Buddha, Medicine Master Buddha, Manjushri, Universal Worthy, One In, Great Strength, Sunlight Bodhisattva, Moonlight Bodhisattva, you name it. Infinite Intention Bodhisattva, the same foundations. And that's why taking refuge with a person like a great monk like Master YongHua is one of the best things that happened to me personally. Turned my life around. Okay? And he says here on slide 325, he says, I don't know how to create merit and virtue. I don't know how to create virtue. I don't know how to create sagely words. Why do you need to create sagely words? I don't get that. And now I'll how to accomplish them. So he says, when you take refuge with me, I will help you and teach you how to create merit. I will teach you and help you to create more virtues. And I will help you how to create more sagely words. Anyone knows? Any you Chinese people and you specialists, Buddhism specialists, know what it means? Li Yan. What's Li Yan? Yes, one.
So this is a context is there's a Confucian guideline of how to be a great person.
How to be a what?
A great person.
Okay.
And it composes, it has 3 components, which is the 立功、立德、立言. So supposedly you're a great person. What do you accomplish?
君子, not great person.
君子, yeah. Your accomplishment in this lifetime
What's 立言?
lies on the 3 things. 立言pretty much means you left your words, written or words, or verbal teachings. So you a scholar, you wrote books, that's 立言. You are a teacher, you have your like anecdotes, your teachings recorded, that's 立言.
What about you are the emperor? How do you 立言? If you are a
Emperor
general,
also
how do you
can-
立言?
Emperor can also left their records of his decisions, I think, but maybe the emperor is more about 立功 and 立德. But that's 3 dimensions of how you look at what the person has done in his life.
So the meaning of 立言 again is what?
Basically it means you left your teachings.
Okay. Anyone else? Thank you. So this is Confucian thing. And you know how I feel about Confucius. I think he's an idiot. Self-serving idiot. I do not like people who enslave others to the aristocracy. And that's what he does. I don't like it. Okay. 立言. But he's a bodhisattva, so he has some wisdom that's useful. But certain things, it's kind of distorted because he's scheming to endear himself to the rulers because he's so poor. He needed support for his work. And it's not clean to me. If you cannot teach, then don't teach. But you don't need to compromise yourself. Put your wife to work. Yeah, exactly. And if one is enough, find another one. Okay? So, he says, so you don't know how to create merit. True. You don't know how to create virtue. True. You don't know how to create words. To create words of wisdom. Yeah? It's true. But as far as I know, Confucius's disciples really didn't have a lot of students who left behind a lot of words of wisdom, did he? Among his disciples, you Chinese people, I'm curious. I'm trying to learn here and open my mind because I'm opinionated. Doesn't mean I'm not willing to learn. Among the disciples of Confucius, who established significant teachings? 立言. Anyone? Yes.
I think the maybe not his direct, but in the third generation, the famous person is the Mengzi, who left a lot of, who is another important Confucian scholar.
Then you cannot count it. I only count the direct descendants
There's also
in that
Zhenzi.
lineage.
There
Mengzi is someone who cultivated by himself. He didn't really need Confucius.
So Zhenzi is probably the person who wrote the most book. Famous one is 大学, Zhenzi, and then the
YongHua, no?
YongHua died very early. YongHua is probably
He
the
left
most
nothing behind?
excellent. I don't think so. No. And Mengzi studied from Kongzi's teacher, probably sorry,
But
Kongzi's
not directly.
student, probably directly. I think probably Zhenzi.
Zhengzi.
Yeah.
Okay. I didn't know the Mengzi studied from Confucius directly.
No, not directly.
Because
There are quite
I
some
saw,
years apart.
I know very little about Mengzi, but I saw his style and some of his teaching. I said, this is not Confucius.
Yeah, it's different.
He has personality, he has integrity. Confucius lacks integrity. That's my beef with him. Okay, very good. So, yes, JMT.
저희가 알게 들리세요? 공자의 수제자로 알려진 사람은 공자의 직속 제자 아니라는 사람이 있습니다. 아니 히요. 아니요 히자 돌림이에요. 네네 히자. 네네.
Master, I remember that the Confucius, the highest disciple, his name is An-hee. But that's Korean pronunciation. I'm sorry, Master.
YongHua. Okay.
네, 공자의 수제자는 아니라고 알려져 있습니다.
Yes, that's what I know.
Okay. But he died young. He left nothing behind. You know what it tells me? It tells me he disagreed with Kongzi. He didn't want to leave anything that will diminish his teacher's teachings. Because if he were truly a disciple of Confucius, he would have left some words already, because he's supposed to leave some words. He says, my disciple, all of you need to learn how to create merit. And you need to 立功, 立德, 立言. And YongHua, who supposedly understood everything, he left nothing behind. Meaning he disagreed with Confucius. That's my guess. You like it, huh? You are so arrogant, woman. Okay, so what is he talking about? Great merit. That is your assets. Your wealth is merit. Create virtue. Virtue is your transcendence. You cannot elevate yourself unless you increase your virtue. And finally, you 立言, you establish words, meaning you establish words of wisdom. Okay? Confucius was not smart enough back then, wise enough back then to use the word true. Okay? Words are meaningless. Words, to him, he establishes words to serve his bosses, his aristocracy, his 主公, his sponsors. Whereas words here is words of wisdom that will transcend time, will transcend him. He has not been, my knock with Confucius, he has not been able to make himself disappear like my Chinese teacher. You see later, my Chinese teacher says, everything I do is for you, all of you, not for me. Whereas Confucius never could rise above it. Okay, now he says, now I will learn from my teacher how to do this. You see, so Master Shenhua right there sets the standards. Oh, unfortunately, using Confucius standards. But that's what Chinese people do. Okay? And you Asians people do that. Yes, 7. What do you have to say?
전에 마스터께서 공자님이 되게 높은 마하살의 화신이라고 얘기하셨던 걸로 기억하는데, 근데 이렇게 다시 세상에 돌아오셔서 사람들을 가르칠 때 이러한 문제점이 생기는 것은 왜 그런 겁니까? 일부러 그렇게 하신 건지 아니면 어떤 요소가 있는 건지 궁금합니다.
Master, I remember from the previous Dharma talk, you told me that Confucius is a transformed body of great bodhisattva.
水月, yeah, it's a water moon bodhisattva. Yes.
What?
Is there a point?
So he came back as a transformation body, but there's a problem with his teaching. Is he teaching this way purposely, or is there other factors why he's teaching this way?
No, it's a Buddha's fault. We should not blame Shui Yue Bodhisattva. It's a Buddha's fault. What happened is according to Master Shenhua, before he could send the real Buddhist teachers to China, they had to start training. It's like they had to send the kids to kindergarten, to elementary school, to so forth, so that they can learn the basics. And so Confucius is, according to Master Shenhua, was there to prepare the Chinese. In what way? It was very important. If you have children, it's the same thing. You need to prepare them with merit and virtue. You need to teach them about right and wrong. That's what really Confucius' contribution was. His wisdom was too low. That's why he's there to take care of the kindergartens and elementary schools and 8th graders. Okay? And then later they have to send Mahakasyapa in the form of Lao Tzu to prepare them more on the abstract, the Chinese on the abstract. And then then they brought Mahayana over, and they used those Taoist terms, the terminology. Okay, so you see, Confucius was like elementary school. Yes, Wei Mao.
阿弥陀佛，师父好。就是关于刚才师父您说到关于孔子这方面，就是其实我们作为中国人，我们从小读孔子的书，其实他很多的观点啊，其实 也是教人首先是爱人，而不仅仅说哦，我是为了迎合一个统治者，希望把我的这个政策给推销给他们。其实并不是这样子。孔子他一开始是出身一个贵族，他是一个宋国的贵族，是商朝人的后代。
Correct.
他不能在鲁国也做到了这个司空，也相当于一个大法官的一个角色，所以其实他权力也挺大。可是，在我们中国人认为，在儒家里面他是非常伟大，因为他是首先在政治上，他是希望给老百姓和人民有一些权利，就是作为一个君主，你要去爱人民，这是他认为非常重要的一个观点。第二个，在教育上，他是中国历史上第一位伟大的教育家，提倡了叫有教无类的观点，就是所有的人都有受教育的权利。
That's correct.
这是从他开始提倡的，对。所以呢，是从那个时候开始，平民老百姓就认为，哦，我们不应该做成就是 be slavers all my life, generation to generation， 并不是这样。他认为我们每个人都要受教育的权利，对。所以其实孔子他，可能以前我们对他有误解，觉得他是在推销一些东西，希望是做一个就是更大的官，然后哦我要去干嘛干嘛。但是我是觉得宣化圣人他可能是从小受到儒家教育很深，因为我们学佛啊，首先要做人嘛，所以呢，其实儒家给我们做了一个非常好的一个基础。首先做一个好人，然后我们可能在成为一个好的佛教徒。那未来我们开悟了，可能成佛，但是很多年之后的事情。但是宣化圣人提出来立言、立德和立功，那首先就是你要有一个誓言，誓言叫 oath 哈，然后你要立德，就是你要做一个表率，你要做出你的道德、你的戒律、你的修为，你要让别人真正去觉得你是一个有道德的人，你是一个有自己的一个准则的一个人。最后立功，这个立功不仅仅说哦我是要挣很多钱或者我要成功，但是对于儒家来讲，立功就是为万世开太平，就是可以帮助到众生，希望整个国家平安太平，然后呢君君臣臣父父子子，他希望君子就是皇帝，你要像皇帝的样子。如果你这个皇帝做得不够好，那老百姓是可以有权利推翻你的。所以其实我觉得孔子他的思想应该是超越时空的。他也是非常的就是 great compassion， 我是这么认为，对。所以其实在这方面，儒家他，但是其实这是我们后来就是大家觉得早期的时候，孔子的思想是这样。但是师父您说的一部分我也很赞同，为什么呢？因为儒家到现在已经超过2500年，它很多东西已经变质了，变成了一个皇帝的一个工具。它变成了一个 tools， 就是用来自己去把别人变成奴隶，让他们去 brainwash 这么一个工具。所以后来大家对孔子越来越陌生了，变成了一个崇拜的一个偶像。但实际上它跟我们佛法本质上是一样的，就是一个 education， 是个教育，就如何成为一个尽可能成为一个完美的人。在人格上完美化，但是后世的皇帝就把它变成了，尤其在汉朝的汉武帝，董仲舒提出了罢黜百家，独尊儒术，这个之后呢，慢慢的就是孔子就变成抽象化了，他就变成了大家就觉得哦，他可能就是我们崇拜的一个偶像啊，他可以帮助我考试，然后通过 imperial examination。科举考试哦，然后我就可以变成一个大官，然后我可以去做人上人，然后我就可以成为一个奴隶主，去奴役其他人。这就是完全违背了孔子一开始的思想，对。所以呢，其实在这一方面，孔子他的可能他的境界未必有佛陀我们伟大的佛陀境界那么高，但是他的 motivation， 他的发心还是为了普通老百姓，为了众生，只是说，可能后来被我们曲解了。包括我们儒家说的这个45经，对吧？《论语》《大学》《中庸》《孟子》，啊，这个《诗书易礼春秋》， 这45经，慢慢就变质了，变成了一种大家仅仅是为了背它、读它，然后去做官、挣更多钱、去奴役别人，而缺乏了孔子真正讲的核心的精神，叫仁，仁义的仁，一个单人旁，下面一个二那个字。所以孔子他提出来这个思想是超越时空的，他很多东西其实也契合了人的想法和就是这种佛陀的一些教义，所以我个人观点啊，有可能是不对的，所以师父多多批评。就是宣化上人提出来以儒家这个观点来做例子，其实是否也是在教导我们，首先从做人开始，然后我们可以变成一个更好的佛教徒。如果一个人他不能有慈悲心去帮助其他人或者爱其他人，那么可能就是有佛教徒，如果一个普通人的德行都做不上，那很难成为一个佛教徒。对，这是我的观点，谢谢。
Very good. Excellent translation. Huh? Huh? Very good. You can tell he's new.
It seems like Master understood what he was saying.
Trans? I understand about 60%. Go ahead.
I can summarize a little bit. He's basically trying to explain that Confucius, from different aspects that he tried to teach, his teaching was more benefiting the common people, but later were being misunderstood. So he gave some examples, like politically and educational wise. He has he advocate like teaching without discrimination. And then so there's so he gave some examples that I don't quite remember them all right now.
You said one of the great things that Confucius did was provide education to everyone. It used to be only reserved for the privileged. And this is very important for the culture of China, that Confucius was the first real teacher who advocated education for everyone, for the poor as well as the rich. I agree. These are the fundamental things that are very critical. Continue. So he said he made very important points. I totally agree with him. I don't disagree at all.
So
that's
he's
why I
just
allow
saying
him
maybe
to speak. If I disagree, I say, oh, that's enough. No, don't translate. Continue.
So the main point was maybe his teachings is not at the same level compared to the Buddha's, but he still had a lot of contribution and did a lot of good, and that. But later, there were misunderstood by people later. And there's some criticisms about his teachings. So he was just giving examples of them. Yeah.
I agree with him. He's right. I agree with him. Confucius is very important personality in the Chinese culture. He's provided a foundation of education and of merit and virtue. That's very, very important. Okay? And he's the first one who's able to help provide a form or an approach to how to rule a big country like China. So the model he did is very, very important for rulers. Okay? Rulers didn't know how to rule over their people. And Confucius is the one who was the first one to teach both sides. He taught the low-level people, the populace, as well he taught the rulers as well. That's not often given enough credit. And it is so effective that now even Master GFCMC had to use the Confucius concepts in order to relate to teach Buddhist concepts. So yes, we don't deny that Confucius is very important because he laid a foundation and we're still using it, and the proof is in Master Hsuan right here. He uses a lot of Confucius concepts. Why? Because his audience is Chinese and they can identify with it. I disagree with him because I'm not Chinese, that's all. It doesn't mean he's wrong. I mean, he chooses to use Confucius, but I don't necessarily disagree with Master Hsuan. I just disagree with the use of Confucius for America. Okay? And in particular, the problem I see with Confucius is that it's not about his teachings. It's about his needs. He had to prostitute himself to the rulers in order for his teachings to be accepted. So he made a compromise. And as from a Buddhist perspective, that's why he's where he's at. So the teaching is not about necessarily about Confucius's strengths and weaknesses. His great contribution to Chinese culture and the culture to humanity is very, very important. Okay, all the Asian countries adopted his value systems as a basis of morality. Is because it works, because it's important, part of humanity. So it really, really works. It's just that. You cannot take the average. My interest is not the average. My interest is, if you will, I teach the more advanced levels. And that's why my job, I feel, is to point out to you certain weaknesses. Yes, I sound radical and critical because I am. And see, there's a lot of anger inside of me. It's the manic side. You hear? I took care of my depression. I'm happier now. It's manic is still bothering me. So Confucius is very important, not just Confucius, but here in the U.S., the Christian teachings, the Jewish teachings, and Anglican teaching, those are very important. Basis of morality, okay? That also work very well, okay? But they don't go far enough, that's all. They don't go far enough because, as I pointed out to the Chinese, Confucius has some glaring mistakes he made, that he chose to appeal to the masses, okay? So he went for the average, okay? And that's a problem to me because he failed to teach the rulers to open the wisdom. He chose only to serve them, not teach them. And that's my knock on Confucius. That's why all the rulers use him, because they find it useful to control their people. Okay? Very much like, for example, you Japanese people don't get too offended. The Japanese emperor used Buddhism to control people in the country. So Japanese Buddhism, okay, is distorted because they twist it to serve the emperor's needs. Same thing with the Chinese rulers. They use Confucius to serve their needs instead of opening the wisdom of the rulers. That's what's lacking in Confucian teachings. That's my criticism. It works, but it failed to take care of the rulers. People in power need to open the wisdom. You as a teacher cannot be subservient to the people who have money, who have power. You compromise yourself. Yes, 5.
YouTube has a question from Robin's Nest. Emitofuo Master, I have a question. In Mahayana, there is emphasis on the virtue of filial piety. To my knowledge, this is emphasized in the original Vows of Earth Store Bodhisattva Sutra. Confucius spoke extensively on filial piety. Are the Confucian teachings on filial piety in alignment with the true Buddha Dharma, or is it, as you have said, like children's introduction or philosophy?
No, they are in alignment. Actually, Confucius' teaching about filial piety is very, very good. Master Showa actually uses a lot of that, Confucius' teachings on filial piety, because that's the core weave in the Chinese culture. So it is very, very important, okay? It is in sync with Buddhist values. Okay, so I would follow it. But when you reach a certain level, that's when the filial piety of the Confucian teachings reaches a peak, and you need to switch to Buddhist concept of filial piety before you can go. So in other words, to give you an idea, Confucian filial piety is like elementary school for small children. When you get to much higher level, that's when the Buddhists will see holes in Confucian filial piety. Actually, it transcends Confucian model. So to our young friend there, young Chinese friend, thank you for your input. It's really, I totally agree with you, and you learn more about Buddhism, you see what I mean. That is Confucius never really taught the Chinese a methodology to li yan. Because to li yan, to establish sayings, to establish sagely words, you need to have a mechanism to unfold your wisdom. You don't just say, I want to become an author, I want to become a philosopher. You need to go through training. And Confucius never really have the technology to allow people to create, to li yan, for example. Okay? So that's all. It's about difference in depth. Confucius, again, is elementary school. It's very important. There's no high school without elementary school. There's no college without high school. There's no doctorate programs without bachelor's program. So you see, it depends on the level. That's all. Anyone else? Okay, very good. So he says, so this, you see, even though here on slide 325, even though Master YongHua talked about, I will help you create merit virtue, I will help you create virtue, teach you how to do that, I will also help you create words. This is not what Confucius did. Confucius said, hey, you should create words. But he never taught them how to create words. That's exactly what the Americans would do to you. You say that. You should create words. They're going to ask you point blank, how? How did you create words? How can I create words like you? Okay? And so, as when you take refuge or triple jewel, You can expect to have that. You expect, like from Master Shunha standards, you expect your master to help you create merit, to help you create virtue, and teach you how to create words. So far, so good? Yes, Wei Mao.
Emitofuo Master. I have a question. I work at a prestigious law firm, and I just happen to know a bunch of like worldly people who are very, very smart. And
Do you have any lawyer who specializes in slander and defamation lawsuits? I'm curious.
Not that I've personally worked with.
There are specialists. I'm looking for one. Continue. I'm sorry.
What you're saying about Confucius?
Climb on conditions, as you notice. Continue. It's not that funny. Sorry.
Yeah, that's good. So yeah, what you're saying about Confucius just rings really true, because basically everybody I know who's very, very smart works for somebody who's very, very rich and powerful to make their will possible. They just come up with like logical, legal reasons to make them be able to cheat and hurt others, and perpetuate the aristocracy. And I don't really see like anybody smart, like really, really smart, escaping that wheel. So for people in the future who like have the opportunity to start a new career or do something with their intelligence, how do you recommend that they go about it without like succumbing to the glitter of evil?
Wow. Are you sure your bosses are not watching?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure. I always say I work for like
Should we blot out your face and distort your voices? Because we don't want you to get in trouble. There's things as between us, amongst us, we can be honest and talk about anything, but it's not necessarily for public consumption. Like last night, I said publicly about abomination of some publications over there. That should be removed. We don't need to publicly attack anyone. It's meant for you, okay? I declare that should be stricken out. Please. Because it's grounds for slander lawsuit. No, it isn't. If they consult a lawyer, they understand. I'm very cautious. All right. This section here should be taken out as well. Of course, the legal profession is really fertile grounds for people who are extremely, extremely bright. Case in point, many of these bright lawyers or students of law went on into politics. That's a proof right there. The best and the brightest eventually will have to graduate into to join politics. Okay, so yes, originally I was very enamored with law too. I found it to be so intellectually stimulating. It's so logical. Okay, it is so brilliant. The sharp thinking and the building of a case there, and so it rewards the brightest minds, and there's room for them. They will become eventually experts in their own fields, and they're very useful. Absolutely, because that's what democracy is about. Democracy is about tolerating these competing forces, and that's very healthy to me. Okay, some lawsuit you will win, some lawsuit we will lose. That's part of democracy, or it's part of civilization. Okay, and personally, okay, I feel it's perfectly okay for some of these lawyers to be so nasty and so unprincipled and so evil, if you will. Okay, you know why? Why do I feel that way? Because they are the ones who will encourage other lawyers to become principled and become moral, and they say, this I will not stand here and do nothing about these evil people. So that's the nature of capitalism. You don't have to be judgmental. Oh, please don't judge some lawyers who are immoral, who would stop at nothing to win a lawsuit. We need those. I need a good one. A real good one. Well, I can't afford it. And so I feel it's the strength of capitalism where we allow these competing forces to shape themselves and to challenge themselves. You know, if you have these evil lawyers, very good, I assure you, there is a good lawyer such being formed as well. And then when there's a good lawyer who outshines everyone, I assure you, it'll be an evil lawyer being trained, being formed by the opposition to make sure that we have a fair system based on winning alone. Okay? That's the bottom line. That's capitalism. That's what we live in. There's nothing wrong with it in my mind. Okay? Meaning that I'm willing to embrace it because, frankly, if I find a good slander lawyer, I will embrace his person or his tactics. Okay? Because you don't go into a lawsuit and say, I want to be fair. Hell no. You go in a lawsuit because you want to win. Damn it. Excuse me. Okay? So that's capitalism for you. However, when you look at it from a Buddhist perspective, you have to ask yourself, am I willing to win at any cost? Am I willing to cheat? Am I willing to hurt others in order to win? In some cases, it's perfectly okay to hurt the damn demons. Let's hurt them. I have no problem with it. Okay? They need to be taught. They need to be hurt so that they back down. But that's not hurt the innocent. Okay? So that's a personal call for you. You see, we need to have a system of capitalism where the competing forces will naturally rise and challenge each other. Like in tennis, you have this great champion, and eventually you have another one who will push each other up and up and up and up and elevate the game. Whether it's soccer, whether it's tennis, whether it's football and so forth. You know, like football here, we're going to go into the postseason very soon. Which team are you following? I abandoned 49ers already. You know why? Because the coach is a loser. It's time to can his little rear end. I'm fed up with losing. I want to be 49er fan. But I don't want to support losers like him. Okay? That's capitalism. You may come from royalty in coaching, you may have a track record, but ultimately, we 49ers, we won a championship. It's no excuse, man. And so far he hasn't delivered no championship yet that scan his ass. Okay, I'm sorry, I get very emotional when it comes to football. Okay, so my answer to you, sir, is that we need to embrace them. If they choose to be evil, so be it. They choose to be good, so be it. But it's about us, okay? It's about, as you, I think your question is about you. Where do I go? Where do I stand? Okay? That's about you. You said in your work, if you feel that this work is good and is important, you can do it. But if I don't know, you have the option of saying, no, I'd rather not in this project because I don't believe in this guy, okay? He's a criminal to me. Okay, everything he does, it violates my morals, my principles. I don't know you can do that, but it's a matter of personal choice. Okay, you don't like it, then become a lawyer, be your own boss. Okay, and then now you can pick and choose the cases. Does it help? It boils down to personal choices. Let's stop judging others. Okay? You should embrace them. They're there for a reason. The demons are there for a reason. As I said last night, I find the depression demons very useful in my work. I find them stupid, and I use their stupidity to train my people. So they're very useful. Okay? You should look at both sides of the equation. And you have to stop judging people. That's all. It's about you. How do you feel about it? Is it okay? You feel okay that you're doing this kind of work to make money, to bring it home, to feed your family? Okay? You feel good about it. That's something you have to ask yourself. That's all. Okay? Yeah. But it's impossible for you to pick and choose, I feel, because you are not a lawyer. You have to be a lawyer, you have to be your own boss, and then you can pick your cases. But if you're not, then we sometimes have to compromise and sell ourselves for money to feed the family. That's life. You know, we all have to compromise, honestly, no? For the sake of our family, we sometimes have to prostitute ourselves. That's life. That's what the song is referring to. How deep is your love? Okay? There's no. It depends, is the answer. Yes, sir. There is a 5 here. Oh.
YouTube from Alta D. Does a lawyer take on their customer's karma?
Does a lawyer take on the customer's karma? The lawyer takes on its own karmas. Okay, because no one forces him to take on anyone else's karma. What lawyers do is, in the exercise of their work, they make choices that they will have to answer for eventually. And that's the bottom line. And this is why, personally, I find being a lawyer is a very difficult choice of a career because you really need to compromise your values. Okay? Ultimately, you have to work with the system. You need to compromise your value. Because what happens is that when you take on a client, you sign, you make a commitment, and I will try everything possible to win. No? So you have to compromise your values. I struggle with that a little. Okay? Whereas that's why the great lawyers, then the good lawyers, and graduate to politics. Now they have a reason. Like public interest and so forth. At the lawyer level, it's about winning and losing. And professionally, okay, it is exciting, it's challenging because you want to try your best to win at any cost. And that's your jobs. That's what you signed up for. Whereas when you go into politics, you have more other excuses, whereas public interests and so forth. Okay. So personally, I would not become a lawyer because I know I have to compromise. And to me, it's not worth it. There are other ways to make money, other ways to stimulate my minds. Anyone else? Oh, I have a few more minutes. You are all bored talking about lawyers and Confucius. Okay, just by not traveling, not eating good food, using the car less, driving 10 miles less, saves quite a bit of money. I will not comment on cars because today I started prostituting myself already for the sake of saving money. I'm unprincipled as well. You enjoying this too much? You might say, my clothes are old, I want to buy a new set. The old ones can be worn for another year. This is vintage YongHua. Okay? His clothes are so old and so tattered, okay, and he's really he's living his words. He's the only monk I know who's like that. He's so pure when it comes down to this public interest thing here is coming to. Instead of spending money on new clothes, I will use this year to make offering triple jewel, build this way place, then it is accomplished. You see, he's asking money for people to make sacrifices to give to him so that he can build this way place. Okay? And he says, it's not for me. See, he's obsessed with establishing his way place and his weakness. I feel sorry for him. He's a patriarch. He had a lot of people. He needs to establish Mahayana way places, especially your patriarch. After he's dead, he's going to come back to the boss, Shakyamuni Buddha, and says, "What have you done?" He said, "Oh, I have no way place in the United States of America." So he's under a lot of pressure. You have to understand and appreciate it, okay? Hey, we all have to prosecute ourselves sometimes. and so he says, you see, he is so determined to establish a way place. That's his weakness. Can you see that? Huh? We all have our weaknesses. Okay, some of us don't like full lotus. So, why do I have to do this again? And I can't concentrate when he jokes so much. And that's part of the training, kid. Okay? And you keep on thinking this way. This piece of clothing I'm wearing is, I want to buy a new one. The new one bought no one either, so I buy another one. So you see, he's talking, his way of saying that once you start buying, you don't stop. That's what I found out. Okay? You stop buying. He said, but, it's only good for the winter. There's fall coming up. Okay, and so forth. And so, yes, you keep buying and buying, end up buying a lot, you don't even wear them all. My excuse is that I don't need to buy anymore. My despised disciples keep on giving me more clothes in spite of my very feeble protests. I cannot wear the things I have. Okay, I have this 5-drawer commode, and I open 3 drawers. 2 drawers are not open. I have that many clothes. For those of you who are still thinking of planning to buy me more clothes, stop it, please, because otherwise I have to buy more furniture. He's only worried about buying clothes. I'm worried about furniture. Okay, they're not much use. That's right. Let me tell you, I never made a new piece of clothing for myself. This is vintage Master Hsuan. I really worship him for this. You know, one of the things that very, very difficult to resist is clothes. You know, that's why, let me share with you, in Buddhism, in our Vinaya, we only have 1 cloth, 1 of everything. We don't want 2. 3 sashes are different. We have 3 sashes, but 1 is 5, 1 is 7, 1 is 9. 9 pieces. What I'm wearing today seems to be 5. Okay? And so you see, that's why the Buddha, in his great wisdom, he says, you know, you boys and girls, your clothes there, be careful. You only want 1. You don't want 2. And he's pure in this. He's incredibly advanced in this side. That's why his wisdom is incredible, let me tell you. Don't listen to my criticism of him. This tells you how far superior he is to all the other monks. He really are not attached to clothing at all. And that's very, very personal. Okay? All the years I've been a left form person, I have never used temple money to do anything for myself. It goes beyond clothing, folks. He never used any resources to benefit himself. And that's the public-spirited mindset that is, I've never seen anyone like that in my entire life. And that's why I worship him for this reason. I can joke, I can criticize him. Those are the minor things I disagree. But this is very deep level of standards of excellence, such high standards of excellence. That's why he's a patriarch, my patriarch. Okay? Never did use temple money to do anything for myself. It's true. You made a cotton jacket for me when you returned from Taiwan. I gave the YongHua. Okay? He cannot stop people from giving clothes to him. He simply gives them away. I saw him too. You know, he gave people giving clothes, sashes and so forth. He gave them to others. That's why I saw when I was there. Not saw him giving, but saw him, the people still wearing. He said, you know, this sash here was given to me by Master YongHua. It's a beautiful, beautiful sash. Okay, and so I'm going to follow the same thing. I'm warning you. You give me clothes, I give them away. Okay? I want to be known for the rest of my life. Trying to keep up with this guy. It's very difficult, let me tell you. I have so much clothes. Now I can begin to refuse clothes. Because I myself am without virtue. Therefore, I'm unwilling to use the permanent dwelling money to make the cotton jacket. Okay? And that's his official rationale. He's not attached to clothes. That's the bottom line. And this is an excuse. I'm no virtue. I don't deserve this. That's very Confucian, shall we say? Isn't that permanent dwelling has no money? The permanent dwelling place that I have stayed, all have a lot of money. True. Okay. His generation, the way places, have a lot of money. He is a big shot as well, because wherever he went to these big temples, okay, he learned a lot from them, but also they recognize his value as well, because he brought in a lot of donations because of his spiritual powers. You know, when your legs are hurting, he comes over and says, "Don't hurt anymore," and the pain goes away. And then you stand up and you put money in the donation box. Go away. See, don't laugh, because when you laugh, it hurts more. That's why my lecture is very hard, because I make you laugh individually, that's why it hurts more than normal. Okay, so he went to these way places, and they welcome him with a red carpet, and he's never shy about using his spiritual powers to heal people. He started back then already. Okay, he healed people left and right, and all the money he received, he gave it to those permanent dwelling places. Why do you think these abbots adore him so much? He's young, and he really didn't have really great lineage at all. Okay, and how come all these abbots, when you hear him telling stories about how he got close, his abbot, and talks to the abbot, and the Xu Yun, for example, great master Xu Yun, named him as number 1 in his temple very quickly, okay? It's because he brought in money. I know, I'm in this business. The abbots, they like you because you bring in money. Hint, hint. Okay, so yes, he's speaking the truth. He's not telling you the big picture. The real truth is that he showed off, and people were so impressed, they gave more and more money to him. And then you know what? As he said, when I receive money, I put it in a donation box, I give it to the abbot. I never kept anything for myself. Wherever he went, this is why he's welcome everywhere. Okay? And that's why when he came to America, he has no money. He gave everything away. I would have kept half, I think. Could be a little bit more. 55%. Because I use my spiritual penetrations. No more pain. See? No more pain. Isn't that impressive? Okay. However, I don't use the money because public funds. He's not saying, he gave the money to the abbot. That's why they all loved him. And I will not have to use. Because he doesn't see his money. He sees it as the temple's money. So this is a mindset. Wherever he went, he helped out. And I hope, I'm saying this, children, because I hope you all develop spiritual penetrations and help out. Never mind. It fell on deaf ears right away. Said, "Huh? What did you say?" Okay, we stop here because it's 9 o'clock already. I don't want to keep going about money. I want you to think about it tonight. Thank you, everyone. Good night.